Once, on a tiny asteroid no larger than a house, there lived a little prince with golden hair that shimmered like the first light of dawn, and eyes as deep as the endless night sky. His home was asteroid B612, a speck of rock, adrift in the vast ballet of the cosmos, where 3 volcanoes, 2 active and 1 extinct, puffed lazy smoke rings into the void, and a single baobab sprout threatened to overrun everything if not tended daily. The little prince had a rose, of course, the most beautiful rose in all the universe, with petals like whispered secrets and thorns that guarded her heart. She was vain and demanding, but he loved her fiercely, watering her each morning and placing a glass bell over her at night to shield her from the comet's tail winds. But one evening, as the little prince sat on the edge of his crater, polishing his volcanoes with a feather duster, he felt a restlessness stir in his chest, like the flutter of a moth against a lantern. The stars above twinkled with their usual mischief, but tonight they seemed to whisper secrets he could not quite hear. "What if," he murmured to his rose, "there are echoes out there? Echoes at stars that have forgotten how to shine?" His rose, ever prickly, rustled her petals. "Echoes? Bah! You're always dreaming, little fool. Tend to me instead. My thorns ache from neglect." He smiled sadly and kissed her goodbye, promising to return before the next sunrise. Packing a satchel with a crust of bread, a thermos of sweet tea, and his favorite scarf embroidered with sheep, drawn of course by his friend the pilot from Earth, he stepped onto his migratory bird, a great golden eagle tamed from the wild flocks that soared between asteroids. "To the echoes," he said, and they launched into the star-strewn sea. Their first stop was a planet of glass spires, where the air hummed with the clink of crystal chimes. The little prince landed softly amid a forest of translucent towers that reflected every color of the rainbow, bending light into impossible shapes. At the center stood a king, not of flesh and bone, but of polished quartz, his throne a multifaceted gem that split the sun into 1,000 tiny rainbows. "Who approaches my domain?" boomed the Quartz King, his voice echoing like shattering ice. "I am the little prince from B612, replied the boy, bowing low. "I seek the echoes of forgotten stars. Have you heard them?" The king leaned forward, his facets gleaming. "Echoes? Ah, yes. But first, you must obey my decrees. On this planet, all light must be ordered. See how my spires catch the rays? No chaos, no stray beams. Swear fealty, and I shall reveal what you seek." The little prince tilted his head. "But your majesty, light dances. It doesn't swear oaths. It simply is." "Nonsense," thundered the king. "Light is mine to command. Watch." He waved a crystalline scepter, and the spires aligned in perfect rows, casting a grid of shadows across the ground. The colors drained away, leaving a sterile white glow. The chimes fell silent, their song choked by the rigidity. A little prince's heart ached. He remembered his rose, how her colors bloomed wild and free under the sun. "Majesty," he said gently, "your light is beautiful, but trapped. Let it echo. Let it sing." With that, he reached into his satchel and pulled out a prism, a simple glass trinket from Earth, gifted by the pilot. He held it to the sun, and rainbows exploded outward, shattering the king's grid. The spires trembled, then swayed, their chimes resuming in a joyous cacophony. The court's king gasped, his facets blushing pink. "What sorcery! My orders undone." "Not sorcery," said the little prince. "Just a reminder. Echoes need freedom to be heard." As the king pondered this, the boy mounted his eagle and departed, leaving behind a planet alive with color once more. But the whispers of the stars grew fainter here. The echoes lay elsewhere. Onward they flew, past swirling nebulae that tasted of cinnamon and regret, until they alighted on a world of endless libraries. This planet, vast as a library on Earth, but stacked to the horizon with shelves of glowing tomes, was ruled by a scholar named Ilara, a being of ink and paper, her skin pages yellowed with age, her hair a cascade of quills. "Welcome, traveler," she creaked, her voice like turning parchment. "What knowledge do you seek? I have catalogued every star's birth, every comet's sigh." "The echoes, forgotten ones," said the little prince, eyes wide at the endless books. "Stars that no longer shine, but whose psalms linger." Ilara's quills bristled. "Forgotten? Impossible! All is recorded here. See?" She led him down aisles that stretched into infinity, pulling volumes from the air. The fall of Lyral, extinguished by a black hole's greed. The lament of Orion's belt, silenced by cosmic dust. But echoes? Mere myths. Knowledge is fact, not fancy. The little prince wandered the stacks, his fingers trailing over spines that whispered titles, like the geometry of tears and whispers from the void. He found a dusty corner where books lay unread, their pages curling like forgotten dreams. One tome, bound in starlight thread, hummed faintly when he touched it. Opening it, he saw not words, but illustrations, a star winking out, its light folding into a melody that danced across the page. "Look," he cried, showing Ilara, "this is the echo, not in facts, but in the spaces between." She peered closer, her ink eyes widening. "But my catalogs say it's extinct. Silent." "Silence holds sound," the boy insisted, "like the pause before a sheep's bleat or the breath before my rose's sigh." He began to hum the melody from the book, a soft, lilting tune that made the shelves vibrate. Books fluttered open around them, their pages rustling in harmony. The library, once a mausoleum of facts, became a symphony hall, echoes rising like incense. Ilara clutched her quills, tears blotting her cheeks into smears. I hoarded knowledge to banish forgetting, but in doing so, I silenced the songs. "Thank you, little prince. Go now, the echoes will guide you." As he left, the library sang, and the stars' whispers sharpened, pulling him toward a darker realm. The third planet was a paradox, a sphere of perpetual twilight, where day and night blurred into an eternal dusk. Here shadows ruled, cast by invisible suns, and the ground was carpeted in velvet moss that muffled every step. The inhabitants were shadow weavers, ethereal figures who spun illusions from darkness. Their king, a towering silhouette named Umbra, whose form shifted like smoke in the wind. "Stranger," Umbra intoned, his voice a rustle of leaves in a grave. "What light do you bring to our gloom?" "None," admitted the little prince. I seek echoes, faint lights from stars long gone. Do they hide here in the shadows? Umbra laughed, a sound like cracking ice. Light? We devour it. Echoes are but prey. Watch. He gestured, and shadows coalesced into shapes. A fox with eyes of forgotten fire. A serpent coiling around a baobab's root. But each form flickered, hollow, lacking the spark of true memory. The little prince felt a chill. He thought of his own shadow, cast long on B612 sands, how it followed him loyally, not to consume, but to companion. Shadows aren't thieves, he said. They're echoes themselves, proof that light once was. Without them, how would we remember the stars? Umbra's form wavered. Remember, we weave to forget pain, to cloak the voids left by fallen lights. Then weave with them, not against, urged the boy. From his satchel, he drew the scarf, its sheep embroidery glowing faintly in the dusk. Draping it over a shadow fox, he whispered, "See? The sheep dreams of stars." The shadow filled, taking on a warm hue, and the fox yipped, a sound like distant laughter. The weavers gasped as their illusions bloomed with subtle glows, echoes peeking through the dark. Umbra knelt, his silhouette softening. You remind us, child, that darkness cradles light's memory. Follow the strongest echo. It leads to the heart of silences. Grateful, the little prince departed, the twilight planet now a tapestry of gentle luminescence. The journey grew perilous now. A star's whispers became a chorus, urgent and tangled, drawing him to the edge of a great rift, a chasm in space where galaxies unraveled like frayed thread. At its heart floated the forgotten nebula, a swirling mass of dust and regret, home to the Echo Keepers, ancient entities born from the death throes of stars, their bodies veils of shimmering ash, eyes like black pearls that had swallowed suns. The keepers encircled him as he arrived, their forms undulating like smoke in a breeze. Mortal child, they intoned as one. A voice like wind through hollow bones. You trespass in the archive of the lost. Why seek what cannot be reclaimed? I seek to understand, said the little prince, his voice steady despite the tremor in his knees. My rose fears the dark. The stars seem dimmer each night. If echoes can sing again, perhaps she will bloom brighter. The keepers rippled with amusement, or was it sorrow? Understanding is a double-edged thorn. Behold, they parted, revealing the heart of silences, a colossal, pulsing orb of captured light, woven from the final breaths of a billion stars. Within it, echoes played out like holograms, planets birthing and dying, lovers parting under alien skies, children laughing at games no longer played. But the orb was fracturing, cracks spiderwebbing across its surface. Leaking whispers into the void. A cataclysm approaches, murmured a keeper, her veil brushing his cheek like moth wings. The rift widens. If the heart shatters, all echoes vanish forever. We guard it, but our ash weakens. What can a prince of dust offer? The little prince gazed into the orb, seeing fragments of his own life, the pilot sketching sheep in the desert, the fox teaching him about taming, his rose's first hesitant smile. Tears welled in his eyes, gem-like. I offer what I have, a story, Stories are the strongest echoes. He began to speak, his voice a thread weaving through the nebula. He told of B612's volcanoes, stubborn and proud, yet yielding to his feather's touch. Of the rose's vanity, masking her fear of the vastness. Of the baobab's slow siege, teaching patience. The keepers leaned in, their ash forms solidifying as his words danced across the cracks, mending them like invisible glue. The orb hummed, its fractures glowing with renewed vigor. But as the story swelled, a shadow loomed, a rift beast, a monstrous entity of raw chaos, born from the nebula's unrest. It was a vortex of teeth and void, hungering for the heart's light. "Flee, child," cried the keepers, but the little prince stood firm. "No," he said, "it too is an echo, of loneliness perhaps." He stepped forward, unarmed save for his innocence, and sang the melody from the library book, the one that had stirred the forgotten star. The beast paused, its maw quivering. In its depths, the prince glimpsed not rage, but a child's face, adrift and afraid. "Tame me," the boy whispered, echoing the fox's lesson. He extended his hand, and slowly, impossibly, the beast unraveled, its chaos folding into wisps that rejoined the nebula. The heart pulsed stronger, the rift sealing with a sigh. The keepers bowed low. "You have given us a new archive, your tale. The echoes are safe, and they sing for you now." One handed him a vial of star ash, shimmering like liquid memory. "Return to your rose. Tell her the stars never truly fade, they wait to be remembered." Exhausted, but alight with wonder, the little prince bid farewell and soared homeward, the eagle's wings carrying them through dawns yet unborn. He arrived on B612 as the sun crested the horizon, painting the craters gold. His rose awaited, petals dewy with worry. "You've been gone too long." The baobabs grew unchecked, and the stars, they flickered oddly last night. A little prince knelt, vial in hand. "They were echoing, my love, calling me to remember." He sprinkled the ash around her roots, and she trembled, then bloomed fuller than ever, her scent a symphony of forgotten lights. That night, as they lay under the bell-jar sky, the stars sang, not faintly, but in full chorus. The little prince drew a sheep in the sand, its wool threaded with echoes. "See," he said to the rose, "even the lost ones find their way home." And so, on his tiny asteroid, the little prince learned that the universe is not a place of endings, but of endless returns. Echoes, like friendships, need only a voice to live again. And in the quiet spaces between heartbeats, the stars whispered on, eternal and true.